sit by the same chair for the first year.
I think, Mr. From the way we learned before, you would probably be allowed to sit. But
Maybe for the first year you wouldn't. Maybe for the first year, because you have all the dinim of kibbutz, you still have all those, it's a special din of kibbutz for the first year.
the din of the Hareni Kaporos Mishkovo, the way the Re explained, had to do with the Divrei Torah, and he doesn't want to be punished for it. But L'chora, the Gemara gave us the examples of kibbutz that you want to do after death, and L'chora, it certainly would be a chutzpah to sit in your father's seat when he's alive. Whether that is noig afterwards, the poskim don't tell us that there's an isser to sit in his seat. For example, contradicting it, there's no contradicting him; he's not speaking. So l'chora, we
it's considered his seat.
right because he's not around
It's a
anymore.
Yoresh. So
Okay, it certainly is not brought down that those dinim exist after his death. Now, what about the concept about kibbutz father and mother? Is it the same? In principle, one's father and mother are considered of equal status regarding all aspects of kibbutz and moira, as it's shown in the following Gemara in Kiddushin. Tanya, Rebbe Omer, Galui ve'adu lifnei mi shomer v'haya olam sheben mechabed es imo yoser me'aviv. That normally a son is mechabed his mother more. Mipnei shemishtalto b'dvarim. She gives him encouragement. She has that kind of relationship with his son, and a son is more afraid of his father. So Yira is more natural to a father, Kibbutz is more natural to a mother. And therefore, since it's more natural to be Mechabed your mother, the Torah, Leficha, Chigdim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kibbutz Av LeKibbudeim. That's why it said, Kabed Avicha Vesimecha, because your natural tendency is the opposite, and vice versa. The goal of Yedul Fnei Mishra Mevayolam Shaben Misyar Me'aviv Yoser Me'imo. He's going to get petched from his father much more than his mother. So the fear is greater. And the Torah, and also in Torah. According to the Gemara, the fact that the Torah mentioned one's mother first concerning Moira and one's father's first concerning Kibbutz seems to indicate that the obligation for both is equivalent. And that's stated explicitly by the Torah in Yoredeya. Uvekovad higdim av le'em, dichsiv, kabris avicha vesimecha. Uvemora higdim es ein la'av, dichsiv ishi mova vivtiro. L'lamed sheshtem shavim, bein lechibud, bein lemora. However, a person sometimes placed in an uncomfortable situation where the honor of his father conflicts with that of his mother. In that case, one must choose a kedima. And the Gemara, in a preference, the Gemara gives us an example. Shaul ben Almana Achas es Rabbi Eliezer. So, the son of a widow asked Rabbi Eliezer, Abba omer hishkini mayim. Father said, asked to be given water. V'imo omer hishkini mayim, eze mehem koidem. So, who technically do we have to serve first? Omer le hanach kvod imecha v'asei kvod avicha. So he was told, put aside the covet of your mother and do like your father. She'ata v'imcha chayovim b'chvod avicha. He said, not only are you have to be mechabed your father, but your mother has to be mechabed the Baal as well. Bolif Rabbi Yeshua Omer lo kach. So he went to Rabbi Yeshua and he told him what he was told. Omer lo, Rabbi, what about nizgarsha mahu? What about if after the divorce, let's say my parents divorce. Omer le mi bein risei einecha nikar sheben almon ata. I see from the way you were crying so much because you had lost your father that you must be the son of a widow. Hatel lahen mayim b'sofel v'kakal lahen ketar negolim. Rashi will explain what this whole Gemara means.
Why does it say the son of the widow?
So,
What does that mean?
so because Rabbi Yeshua in the end of the Gemara recognized
that he's
Recognize
asking questions
that-
just to play around.
Right.
He's not,
So-
he's not sincere.
by Nizgarsha, Rashi says she'en imi chayavis b'chvod avi mahu. So, since now after the divorce, you gave me the answer that I have to follow my father because really my mother's also has a chiyuv of kibbutz towards the husband. But after divorce, where they're not married anymore, so now they should be technically equal. So Rabbi Yoshua noticed, mi bein risei necha saros shebeshuros kisur, and that means the eyebrows, Ata nikr shayita yosum, I see that you were an orphan. B'noshu rina nechem nabechi, and your eyelashes or eyebrows fell out because of crying. Kidamrinan v'haya Rabbi Gamliel shomer koilu uboicha kenegda ad shenosu risei einav. The Gemara gives us an example. Rabbi Gamliel cried so much that his eyelashes fell out. Sheben almonata v'lo tzarech to lemaisa a little more about that. This is not a he identified that he was a son of Almana, that it was a theoretical question. It wasn't really a lemaisa question because there was no father. So basically, Rabbi Yeshua's answer was, in that case where there was a divorce, there would be no precedence. There would be no kedim between the father and the mother. And then he told him, that means, since this wasn't a practical issue, but he asked it in such a way, he gave him a sarcastic answer, like, go fight with the chickens, basically, go, because he saw that the question wasn't really asked sincerely. It wasn't asked sincerely.
But in real life, this is an issue.
So,
When you have parents
so how does the
fighting and fighting with each other?
Right.
How does the child react?
from the Gemara, it's from Rabbi Yeshua, that they're equal. Let's see how the Shulchan Aruch rules. He rules in accordance with the response. Aviv omer lo shkeni mayim, v'imo omer shkeni mayim, menich imo v'oseb k'vod aviv. While the parents are still married, you're supposed to listen to your father before your mother. But it's your choice, it's dealer's choice, who you want to give preference to if you, let's say, given an answer by both. Now, the Pischei Tshuva is uncertain as to the halach in a case where parents who are married.
Today, when the woman don't give any, they think that basically they act as equal. So there's no such a, where you see that a woman has to be machaber her husband. In other words, that halacha seems to have changed a little bit.
But it is a halacha psuka, that in certain dinim that the wife has to be machniya to the baal. Whether it's put together, whether it's actually carried out in that way.
No, but I'm saying today, just because like where you have somebody's divorced, right? So you have equal, you gotta be equal, you can decide who you gotta be.
Yes.
Why?
So you want to say
Because
today,
each
practically, we don't do it
independent,
anyways?
Each one's independent, they're not taloy on. Today, when you have marriages, basically, everyone's educated, they're independent, they bring panosa, they do things, which they didn't do in those days, it was a different time. So I'm just saying.
But I don't think halacha changes. The halacha.
I'm not saying the halacha should change.
Right, the halacha hasn't changed.
Obviously, the halacha is not
The question
changing.
is why you need to honor it. What's the reason that the woman needs to honor her husband? What's the reason?
It's not the meter, it's a.
Walter has a chakira. He has a chakira. Whether that aspect is noig today based on practical ways marriages are done today.
The question is,
Pandora's box.
If a man
That's all it is.
It's opposite.
Everything is right now.
a man and his wife and children, the woman raises, I mean, very common today, where the man, he disappears or gets out, maybe he doesn't come from anymore. How much cover do you have to give?
Well, remember, there he's not following the halacha. The ksuba requires him to provide, so he's an avarian. So there he's not, he's going to have, there has to be tochacha, not necessarily by the child, but the Bezdin does it, or his friends do it.
Do they have to say Kaddish after him too then? The father, I mean, we learned before, of course, I told, even if they're not, if he's not even in the household, because he provided the seed for them.
Yes, he created him.
So the question is, how much, you have to say Kaddish for the man, you have to.
Why would you not say Kaddish?
Well, let's stick to what's in front of us right now. It's a good question. I don't see we haven't come across anything where you don't have kibbud after your parent yet. We say you have to be machabed after your parent, even after his death. We don't have any gedorim yet when that goes away.
Anything about going off the derech today? You have the tshuvas of David Zvi Hoffman that's saying that people are tinok shenishba and they're not.
There's a chazon, there's a tshuva of chazonish that today we're gonna be dealing later on with what we do with what we do with parents who are not religious. So that's coming up.
But the only time you have it is basically when they tell you to be Machal Shabbos. You don't have it in.
We're going to be learning that tonight. We're gonna, Mir Hashem, if we get up to that. Said, and we're gonna deal with, what if they tell you about Shidduchim and that's not, that they don't, you wanna listen to them or not. So the Shulchan Aruch says, regarding this issue, Aviv omer larsh keni mayim, v'im omer larsh keni mayim, menich im avosed kavod aviv. V'im hu gereshes me'aviv, shneim shavim, le'ezem em sheyirtze yagdim. So Shulchan Aruch brings exactly like we brought the tour. Says the Pischei Tshuva on this, that he's uncertain. Remember, we said there was a distinction between whether the parents ask you to do something that benefits them physically, like food and drink, versus they ask you to do something that's not necessarily related to their physical needs. So when they ask you, does the father precede the mother in that case too, or is it only regarding water and food? So the Pischei Tshuva, where he's quoting on where the Shulchan Aruch says you can leave the mother and go do for the father. Meniach imo v'nir li l'chura v'im amar lo aviv lasos lo malacha she'ein ha'isha mechuyeves lasos l'bala. I don't know what they're calling it. Lenny, I'm giving you a shear right now. I'll have to call you back because okay. She'ein ha'isha mechuyeves lasos l'bala. So, for example, the ksuba relationship, that in order for a husband to provide mizonos for his wife, there's a reciprocal that he gets the maisi adayim of the wife, whatever. And not only that, so in return for him requiring to redeem her from pirates if she's taken ransom, so there's other. She has to make the bed and she has to cook for him. Everything in the ksuba is reciprocal. He has responsibilities to her. She has responsibilities to him. So let's say there's one of these things that an isha is not mechuyev to do for the husband, and he asks his son to do it. Kasher mavur b'shulchan aruch in Even HaEzer, v'imo gam kein amar lo lasos lo malacha. And for example, at the same time, the mother asks him to do something. So hahi d'shneim shavim lachi naktu ishkeni mayim. So the Pischei Tshuva is medayek. The reason why the Shulchan Aruch used that case only to say that they're equal is only a case where they're benefited physically, like with water or food. That's why they're going to be equal. But if it's something else other than water and food, there is no kedim. There may be a kedima. It's not going to be equal. There's always going to be a chiyuv to provide it. Even if, when they got married, he brought in a lot of maids for the wife. But he says, "Miu ein ze borer." He's not machriya question regarding this issue when the parents ask him to do something that's not necessarily a chiyuv physically. He's not machriya.
Oh, she says, "Take me to the grove," and he says, "Take me to the shear." Is that a difference?
Say it again.
Take me to the shear versus take me to the grove. The mother says, "Take me to the grove." The father says,
He's going to be left with the same question.
So therefore,
because
you're allowed to. You could say
you could choose. You could
You could
choose.
choose.
So far. Now, Rav Yoshiv rules that practically the father's request should be attended to first, even in that second case, not food and water. Food and water, the Shulchan Aruch said very clearly, you have to attend the father first. But regarding the other issues, not food and water, Rav Yoshiv says you should follow the father. Nevertheless, the Ben Ish Chai states that if the father's request does not involve direct benefit to him, as we learned, there's no mitzvah kibud there, and the mother's request does. For example, the father asks him, the son, to take him for a ride, but the mother asks for food or drink, then one should attend to the mother's request first. Now, he's going to quote an incident here of Rav Shlomo Zalman, that how far he went to kibud up. From the time that Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach reached the age of mitzvahs, he would read Megillas Esther for his mother, who was hard of hearing. The Rav would prepare for days in order to read with the proper pronunciation and nusach, and endeavored to read very loudly while being close to her, in order that she'd be able to hear without needing to use a hearing aid, which is halachically questionable in this context. You can't lane Megillah through a microphone or through a telephone or through a radio, because it's got to be a direct call. If you read it into a dus or the echo, that's that whole sugya. So the son of the Rav related that he later read for his grandmother for many years, and later told his father that he did not think she heard every word. He said to his son, "You should know, my son, that I never ever thought that my mother heard the entire Megillah properly according to halacha. But everything I did, I only did in order to honor her and make her feel good." So, by the way, you can review the next few pages, the summaries of what we've done in the first 2 volumes.
There was a case of where a husband and wife were divorced, the mother passed away, and then the Leviticus, they asked the father if you could say Kaddish for the mother. The father forbade the son to say Kaddish for the mother. Because there's a case where it's covered for the mother, but it's a derisa from, it's all Rabbanan to say Kaddish. And what the father said is a derisa.
Well, the parents, we're gonna deal with when parents instruct children to do something, either a prohibition, or even something against something, this is, let's see what,
It was a mice that happened, there was a case that happened, I heard that, years ago.
So with Rivka and Yaakov, she ordered him, when Rivka ordered Yaakov to go shecht.
right, so again, that
What
doesn't,
was Yaakov's debate? His father didn't ask him something, his mother asked him to do something.
right, but there's no conflict there.
Yes, so he was obligated to do it.
So he went ahead and did it.
Well, because she said, Alaya Klola, believe, this, she has to bribe him, to
He was
convince
concerned about the subterfuge. He was just concerned about putting on the clothing of Esav,
him. Yes,
but not
she
necessarily
ordered
not to
him.
listen to the mother to prepare food for his father.
No, also the clothes, she's the one that ordered him to put
And by the way, so all of those things where we now had a conflict was, there's a difference between when the parent asks for themselves for something physically for themselves versus something that's not physically, like don't go to that bar mitzvah kiddush. Or those are side issues where we said there's no Indian of kibbutz there. Where we said you don't necessarily have to listen to the parents, depending on the
real question
situation.
we're trying to get to is what happens when you're a parent that tells a child to dishonor the other parent.
Well, it's like what Elazar described, not saying Kaddish for the mother.
Right.
Right. Well, let's see if that's covered.
It's in here.
On page 87, the question I asked about other things to honor when a person passed away. Asher Weiss gives a great 2-paragraph picture on page 87.
Yes. Rav Asher Wines explains that the difference between the 2 types of honor is as follows. It does not pertain to the fact that one is alive while the other is dead. Rather, it is connected to the essence of the fulfillment of the mitzvah of kibbud horim. The main purpose of honoring one's parents is to fulfill their physical needs, ensuring that they are fed and do not lack basic requirements. Even actions that focus on giving the parent honor or not making them feel bad are also related to looking after their welfare, their emotional welfare, something that only applies while they're alive. As the dead parent no longer needs these basic requirements anymore, the only obligation remaining after his or her death is to perform acts that honor him, and these are the main essence of the mitzvah. So saying Kaddish is certainly something that we said is an honor to the parents after death. So that's going to be a hard problem to deal with if a father tells, if the way to be mechabed the mother is to say Kaddish, and the father's telling him not to honor the mother, so that would certainly be a difficult issue. That we'll have to see whether, as we learn further, we'll be able to answer that question. So we're now on page 91. We're starting Kibbud Av V'Em Gimel. So in the previous year, we discussed the various guidelines and halachas of Kibbud Av V'Em in normal situation. But now the halacha will address more complex scenarios with regarding to honoring one's parents, as well as honoring other relatives, such as in-laws and grandparents, etc. So what is the halacha when a parent instructs a child to transgress a halachic prohibition, such as lighting a fire on Shabbos? Must a child comply with this request in the same way that he or she must comply with the other request? The Mishnah Bava Metzia states that a child should not fulfill these requests. Says the Mishnah, Im Amar Lo Aviv Hitameh, right? Let's say they're a Kohen, and the father says, go into a cemetery. Osha Amar Lo Al Tachzir, let's say there's a lost object, and the father says, don't return it. Lo Yishma Lo. So the Gemara in Bava Metzia explains, Tan Rabbanan Minayin Shem Amar Lo Aviv Hitameh, Osha Amar Lo Al Tachzir, Shelo Yishma Lo, he shouldn't listen. Shenemar Ishi Mov Aviv Tirau, and immediately there's a juxtaposition. Ve'eshab soisoi tishmoni Hashem, kulchem chayovim b'chvodi. According to the Gemara, since both parents and the children must honor and respect Hashem, it is logical that the child should not listen to his parents if they command him to violate the Torah. And the Shulchan Aruch codifies it in Yoredeya. Amar lo aviv, lavar al divrei Torah, bei mitzvah sasei, bei mitzvah lo sasei, Vafilu mitzvah shel divrayim, even rabbinic mitzvahs, lo yishmalo. And it says in Tez Zayin, ha'av shetzivas bno shelo yidaber imploini. He tells him, don't speak to this person. V'shelo yimchalo al zman kotzuv. And don't give him mechila. Let's say he asked mechila. V'ben hayarotz lispayes, the son wants to give him mechila. Miyad, luleitzavos aviv, even though it was against the command of his father, ein lo lachosh l'tzavos. So he doesn't have to listen to his father. So the Shulchan Aruch clarifies that this halacha applies not only to mitzvahs d'oraisa, but also to mitzvahs drabanan. And in addition, the Shulchan Aruch is extending this rule to permitting one to forgive another for a wrongdoing, even when it goes against the father's wishes. So, according to this principle, what would be the halacha if the father insisted that the son doesn't study in the yeshiva, wants him to go to college, or doesn't want to learn at all? May the son attend the yeshiva anyways against the wishes of the father. The Trumas Hadeshen, who's an early Rishon, the Ramah, he's an Ashkenaz posek, and the Ramah very much relies on the Trumas Hadeshen to a big extent in many of his psak in Shulchan Aruch. So says, She'ela, Tamid Rotze Lotzeis Mimdinoso, Lilmod Tor Lifnei Rav Echad. He wanted to leave France and go to Germany because he heard, because those were the main communities. Rashi's yeshiva was in Troyes. There was Mainz, Shum, and Speyer, and in Germany, or other. Let's say there was a certain Rav somewhere. Even in the Rosh was in Toledo. And let's say they were in Provence, in the south of France. I wanted to go to a different yeshiva, and the father doesn't want him. Shubotech sheyirisim and bracha lefonim. He thinks he'll be successful with that Rebbe. V'yizake b'tamid lilmod imenu. V'aviv mocha ba b'tekav. The father protests. V'amar lo b'ni im telech los medina sharav sham. If you go to that city, titzareni ad moed, you're going to cause me a lot of pain. Ki edag lach latomid. I'm going to be worried about you. Chas v'sholem pentehei nitpas. You will be caught. They will slander against you. Or yo'ilu alecha. I guess he thought that in that city or country they're going to do that. So my yaset talmid yishmael aviv or yelech kechefzo lilmod Torah. Says the Trumas Hadeshen, yira de ein tzarich lishmoa ki haygavnu aviv. So the Trumas Hadeshen wants to say he doesn't have to listen to the father in that situation. So
Talking about a boy on the bar mitzvah, yeah.
The father did for different
No.
reasons. For sakana. The father maybe knows
What's the age,
something.
yeah?
But the father
What's
there,
the
in
age?
case
You
of
don't
this,
know.
something for the sakana.
It can be a blended halacha.
After bar
That's the
mitzvah.
word. You should listen. You should listen to your father, not go. If it's because maybe they're not.
this is the psak of the Trumas Hadeshen.
But it can't be a blended
But the
halacha, there has
question-
to be an age delineation. The boy was 13 years old, when is he got a day?
So let's say it's 15 years old.
Yeah, but it doesn't say, you have to, I don't understand.
An 11-year-old is certainly gonna is soymech al shulchan aviv. So
But a 13-year-old, they say that he wants to go, and he wants to go. Now, he's making that decision against the will of his father. Is that considered, is he a bardas? In other words, you have to be a bardas.
halacha treats a 13-year-old as a
No,
bardas.
well, that's what I'm asking.
No, but there's a
Yeah, but
famous.
the question, he gave explanation that the father says because it's dangerous for you. The father may know more, then maybe he shouldn't. He should listen. If it's because he doesn't say that he doesn't want to go because of a smoke or something, but the father says don't go, it's dangerous.
By the
for
way,
you."
this
I
halacha
know
is
it.
a cause of a lot of perud in a lot of families.
So it seems that the Trumas Hadeshen holds that studying Torah in a yeshiva of one's choice
It is.
qualifies as a mitzvah d'oraisa,
Or not go.
because in order for you to go against your father's will, it has to do with a mitzvah d'oraisa. That if he's telling you to go against, the father doesn't want him to learn at all.
But this
That's not what it's saying.
That's not what he said. Okay.
That's not what it's saying. That's what you say. You interpret it. It's not what
Well,
it's saying.
because
It's not what
the-
it's
No,
saying.
he's saying that he has a yeshiva there.
but look at how they learn the Trumas Hadeshen. The Trumas Hadeshen holds that studying Torah in yeshiva of one's choice qualifies as fulfilling a mitzvah d'oraisa. Therefore, one may disregard the wish. The only reason you're able to disregard in this situation is because it's going against the Torah. The father seems to be saying, "Don't learn," and the son wants to learn. L'chora from the story, it doesn't seem clear that that's the case. But that's Okay. Therefore, according to the way the Trumas Hadeshan learns, one may disregard the wishes of one's parents in order to achieve this goal. But Rav Mordechai Eliyahu, right, chief rabbi, maybe 20, 30 years ago, writes that ideally one should first gently try to convince them to agree to his request. You want to get the father to support your request. Says the Darchei Halacha on Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, Im kol zeh, he's not disagreeing with the Trumas Hadeshan. Im kol zeh, even though the Trumas Hadeshan wrote it, Chayva ben lo nasel saratus sovim. The son should try to convince the father, af v'meina shomeh lo, even though if in the end he doesn't listen to him. Now, a similar question to that of the Trumas Hadeshan is discussed by the Maharik, another Ashkenazi Rishon. The Maharik was asked about the case of a father who does not want his son to marry a woman whom the son wishes to marry. Must the son listen to his father according to halacha? The Maharik answers that the son need not listen to the father. Let's say why. Says the Maharik, "Vasher nistapek es yesh koach biyad av limchos biyad b'no lisa isha asher yachputz bo ben." We're in doubt whether the father has the right to prevent or to protest against the son marrying a woman that he wants. He says, "Lanias daiti," my humble opinion, nira, shim isha how again is slow. If it's suitable for him, she'en koach biyad av limchos biyad ben. The father can't reject it, and he gives reasons. Chada. So again, we go back to this question, when you do kibud, on whose pekel, on whose wallet does it go after? The ben or the father? We know it goes after the father. Says the Marik, all the poskim of Paskin, that yes, you have to feed your father, but the father has to pay for it. It doesn't have to come from you. So therefore, you don't have to suffer financially. Here, he has a certain desire to marry this woman. Without marrying her, he's going to have a tsar de guf. He doesn't want to take another woman. He's desirous of this woman. The other woman may not be pleasant in his eyes. So he makes a physical svara here, that certainly, if you're not going to lose mom, and it's the same kavachon we made before. You should have to suffer physically. If you don't have to suffer financially, you certainly don't have to suffer physically. Physically, I believe, is what he's saying. The odd, the korav adavar ba'enai lios kemitzvus lavar al divrei Torah. He wants to say it's even something where the father is protesting. It's as if the father is telling him to do something against the Torah. Right? On Rabbi Seinu Zal. So even in the times, my grandmother got married in Galicia, was a shidduch. He came over once. She was allowed to look at him through the curtain. That means they had to see each other. And it wasn't just at the chuppah. The din is, you cannot be Makadish unless you see her. What is Chazal saying? There has to be physical attraction. And therefore, Ela she'achshav hutar pen yakdimenu acher. Nowadays it's permitted because we're concerned that she's going to be chapped up by somebody else. But the ikar is that they should see each other. But so he wants to say that the father going against that is almost like going against the Torah. So we see the second example where the Rishonim are extending the ability of the son to go against the father's wishes. We said lilmod Torah, and we said taking a wife. And again, just to summarize, the Marik states two reasons. Since the halacha that one honors the parents with the parents' money, one need not cause himself the distress of not marrying this woman simply due to listening to his parents. This is similar to a case of the parent instructing the child to violate halacha, as the child must marry a woman whom he desires, not simply any woman who's interested in marrying him. So says the Ramah in Yoredeya, V'chein im ha'av moicha beben, lisa ezu isha sheyach po haben, ein tzarich lishmo la'av. The Ramah brings us down la'alocha like the Marik. Okay. Now, Rav Ovadia Yosef, in our times, says that the halacha is still in accordance with the Ramah, despite that there are some achronim that disagree, who say that you should listen to the father and not marry. Sheila, Bachura, a young girl, should tziva aleh avia lebal tinasi leish ploni shehi chavtze bo. And the father has given a command to the daughter not to marry such and such guy that she wants to marry. Hayim chayavas lishmo b'kol mishum mitzvahs kibud av v'em. So does the daughter must the daughter listen to the father because of kibud av? Maskana dedina, shedivrei harav Torah lishma. This is the Ben Ish Chai. He quotes the Ben Ish Chai. Shetzricha bas lishmo lavia, that she should listen. Hamitzvah leah shelo tinaseh. He says einim nechonim ladina. He says he does not think that's correct ladin. V'adarabba, roy latetz eitzel labas. He thinks it's better to give advice to this daughter shelo tishma lavia, ela tevakish lamanoch asher yitav la. Rather, she should seek respite that will be good for her. She should marry. V'chein im abat rotz linoshe lebachor hagun sheyichevtze bo. That the daughter wants to marry a good guy. Va'av mitzav alav shelo tinaseh lev, and the father commands not to. Ein etzrich l'shmo lo. Ve'ein b'zeh mishum. It's not a bizarre of mitzvahs kibud aveim. V'atara iti shekain hela yedidi agon Rabbi Elazar Yehuda Waldenberg the Tzitz Eliezer. He was happy to see that the Tzitz Eliezer, who was also a contemporary modern Israeli posek, lived in Tel Aviv, has 18 volumes, primarily out of medical halacha. The Tzitz Eliezer was one of the first who wrote a lot of tshuvas on medical, who agreed with him. So in contrast to the scenario discussed above, sometimes the father does not instruct the son to violate a mitzvah directly. Rather, due to the son helping his father, he is unable to fulfill another mitzvah. So for example, the father needs his help for something. And in that help, he doesn't have the time to perform a certain mitzvah, such as returning a lost object or helping another person. Should the son continue to perform kibbud av v'eim even at the expense of another mitzvah? So the Gemara addresses this question. He brings kiddushin.
Talking about
Huh?
getting married, what? What's the other mitzvah?
No, no. He said there's a lost object to return to somebody.
Yes.
So but the father you just found it and you want to return it, but at the same time the father told you, I need you to help me. So can you abandon what the father has asked you to do another mitzvah?
What's the right?
Depends what type of mitzvah it is also.
Well, kibbud av is a deraisa,
Depends what type of
and
mitzvah.
hashavas are both
Yeah, but it's
deraisa.
a mitzvah.
So says the
Different
kiddushin,
types of mitzvah.
and Lazar ben Masya Oimer, Abba Oimer Ashkeni Mayim. So again, this is real kibbud. It's not a question like don't go to a kiddush. This is physical kibbud. U'mitzvah la'asos. And he has another mitzvah to do. Meiniach ani kavod Abba v'oises a mitzvah. He says, I should not do the kibbud, and I should go do the mitzvah. Shani v'Abba chayavim b'mitzvah. Because really, me and the father are chayav in the same mitzvah. So if my father had the mitzvah, he would also go. So that's a
But that
svara
mitzvah's only on
that
him.
Elazar ben
How
Masya
it
says.
works if you be'emtza the avoider. In other words, if your father would have asked you first, but you were thinking about doing this, you wouldn't do that. But you
It's
have
got to happen at the same
Yeah, but
time.
that other
The
mitzvah could
papers
be,
has to be in your hand.
the other mitzvah could be done by others, the kibbud avim can
So
only be done by
Isi
you.
let's learn the Gemara. Isi ben Yehuda Oimer, in Efshar lemitzvah le also sayedei acherim teyaseh yedei acherim. So that's number one. If the mitzvah doesn't need him to be the only one to do it, there are other people to do it. He should listen to his father and let somebody else do the mitzvah. Now v'yelechu b'kavod aviv. Amar Rav Masna halacha ki Isi ben Yehuda. So l'chor comes out though that if there isn't somebody to do the mitzvah, it's really Rami on him, so he would have to go and do it, like the first maskana. So according to Elazar ben Masya, one should perform the other mitzvah first, since the chiyuv is on both the parent and the son to keep Hashem's mitzvahs. But Isi ben Yehuda holds, if others are available to perform the mitzvah, they should do it, while the son attends to the needs of the father. So the Shulchan Aruch cites the opinion of Isi ben Yehuda as the halacha, as the way the Gemara concluded. Armelo aviv yishkeni mayim. V'yesh l'fanav lasos mitzvah veres. Again, this is just a mitzvah. This is a mitzvah that has to be done, otherwise it's going to be gone. It's a mitzvah, let's say, tied to time. It has to be done right now. It's a mitzvah oiveris. Ein chanami, like Walter said, if the mitzvah can be done tomorrow, there's no problem. So certainly he can do it, but we're talking about a mitzvah that otherwise would not be performed. Kagon, kvuras meis, olavaya. Let's say a person needs to be buried.
That makes precedent on everything. We know that. That's why everything that is on.
Well, no, because if there's a mace and other people can bury it, so you don't have to go. But if you're the only one that has to go, then you have to go. It's exactly that.
The thing is,
Even though
all these questions are questions regarding
Osek b'mitzvah
a
patur.
sphera in some kind of a mitzvah. Right? You have two mitzvahs that are competing. let's say a child says, I wanna go home, I wanna away from home, I wanna go to Harvard. And the father says, no, I don't want you to go. It's not talking about limited Torah, it's really, let's go to a university education. I bet you if you ask that child to go, they'll say, no, you listen to the father, not going to university. Right? Because it's not,
There's no chiyuv, there's no mitzvah involved. There was a mitzvah, the mitzvah deraisa they wanted to say, like limud Torah. Menachanami.
Right.
Menachanami.
No, but there is tzar,
And what happens if the
you
son
can claim that if I'm not gonna go to Harvard, I'm gonna lose money.
And then you're going back into an issue of a mitzvah, because it's.
Yeah, no, but Nati has a good point. You don't have to do it on your financial cheshbon. I have to honor my parent on the father's cheshbon. If it's going to hurt him financially, there might be a tzad to say that he can argue. Let's just finish this. Im efshar lemitzvah sheteyaseh de'acherim yasok b'koved aviv. Even a levaya, like first Amaze. Says the Ramah, v'im hischel b'mitzvahs tchila yigmor. So if you already started the mitzvah, you should finish it. The oisik b'mitzvah pater min mitzvah. So whatever mitzvah let's say, meaning either way, if you're already being oisik in the mitzvah of kibbud av, you have to finish that and then do the other one, or vice versa. And says the Ramah, v'mein sham acherim lasos yasok b'mitzvah nech koved aviv. So it says very clearly, if you're the only one that can do it, you should do it. Says the Ramah, that was the Shulchan Aruch, says the Ramah, miu, imein zman mitzvah veres, if it's not a passing mitzvah, it can be done tomorrow, so what is the halach of the father, let's finish with this, what is the halach if the father protests the son following a practice that is considered to be midas chasidus, or a chumrah, but it's not actually forbidden or obligated by halacha? Person is doing a certain chumrah or a certain stringency. Must the son listen to the father in this case, since the issue is not one of absolute halacha, or can he disregard his father? So Rav Nissen Karelitz, also a recent posek, b'sefer Chasidim Mavur, d'mavi v'imo mitzrayim al shabonim misanet. Let's say the son has taken the practice into fasting. We're not talking about fasting on the various Tanis Tzibur. He was every Monday and every Mointik and Donishtek, every Monday and Thursday he was fasting. Osru olanis nafsho, v'sham ayr betani shein shel chovo. It's forbidden for him to afflict his soul. And we're talking about a non-chiyuv fast. Ula'el huva shapam gora chazon ish. The chazon ish got angry with someone. Be'echad shay mesoviv rosha b'shat. A mother was trying to give a bracha to his son. And because of frumkeit, he didn't want to look at his mother frontally and sort of turned his head. And the Chazon Ish yelled at him. Shahaisa pruas rosh. Oh, and the hair was uncovered. So he didn't want to look at his mother. The Omar, kivan shemikra din sagi batzim aseinayim. You could have just closed your eyes. Really, you want to. That means because of erva, you could close your eyes. It's more shameful to the mother by turning your head. So you should have done that. The mother sensed a bizayon when you turned his head. So l'chora, according to Chazon Ish, this chumrah that he took on was not appropriate. So according to Rav Karelitz, one should forego practices that are beyond the letter of the law if they conflict with the wishes of one's parents. Nevertheless, since this issue is a complex one, it's best to discuss each individual case with the rabbinic authority.
Obviously, chumrah is done work when it comes to.
Okay. So we've concluded until 98. Shkoyach everybody.
Go ahead.